Ruth left her home at 9 a.m. and walked to the library. She got to the library at 10:30 a.m. Ruth walked at a speed of 4 miles per hour. Work out the distance Ruth walked. Okay, so for this you need to know your speed, distance, time formula. So speed equals distance divided by time. So speed I'm going to denote by S. Speed equals distance divided by time. So therefore the distance is speed multiplied by time. So hopefully you know how to read this triangle. So this line means division, which is why speed, S, equals distance divided by time. And then distance, I'm going to write here, distance is speed multiplied by time, because we read this bit as being times. So the distance equals speed times by time. So the distance, D, is the speed multiplied by the time. The speed we're told she walks at is 4 miles per hour. Now this is the tricky bit, the time. You cannot put 10:30 or anything like that. You've got to figure out, that's not right, you've got to figure out actually how long it took her. Well, she started her walk at 9 a.m. and she arrived at 10:30, which means that the time taken is 1.5 hours. Now we need to write that as 1.5. Okay, 1.5 hours is 1.5. So the calculation becomes 4 multiplied by 1.5. Now you can either do that mentally if you're confident doing that, or you can just do a little column. I'm going to do 15 times by 4. Ignore the decimal point for a second. 5 fours are 20. 1 4 is 4 plus 2 is 6. And because there was a decimal point here initially, 6. 6 is your distance. And let's just have a think to see if that is reasonable. So we're talking about a distance here. So therefore it's going to be 6 miles. Ask yourself if it sounds reasonable. Well, she's walking at a speed of 4 miles per hour and she's walking for an hour and a half. So yes, I do think 6 miles an hour is, 6 miles as a distance is reasonable to walk in an hour and a half. Ruth got to the library at 10:30 a.m. I'm on to this part of the question now. She stayed at the library for 50 minutes. She then walked home. She took 1.25 hours to walk home. At what time did Ruth get home? Okay, so she got to the library at 10:30. Let's just bring a little clock on here. So 10:30, which would look something like this. That's my hour hand, minute hand. 10:30. She stayed there for 50 minutes. So 50 minutes would take me, so this would be half an hour, that would be half an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So that time would then be 11:20. So you can make a little note of that. That's the time that she's going to stay in the library until. That's 50 minutes after she arrived. Ruth took an hour and a quarter to walk home. So we're going from 11:20. So let's take that now to 11:20. And then she says she takes an hour and a quarter to get home. Okay, so an hour, obviously a full hour would take you to 12:20. That would be 12:20, but then an extra 15 minutes because a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So full hour would take you to 12:20, 12:25, 12:30, 12:35. So 12:35 would be your answer, your final answer. I know it's tempting with a time question to kind of add on minutes like you would with a column. I strongly do not recommend this, because if you did something like this, 10:30 plus 50 minutes, it doesn't work, okay? You'd get 10:80 here, which doesn't make sense as a time, okay? That is incorrect, okay? You can't use some kind of column method by adding on 50 minutes here. Why? Because time, there's 60 minutes in an hour, and when we're talking about column addition and column subtraction, like here, we use the decimal system, so base 10, so each column you're talking about, you know, you're trying to make it up to 10, whereas you can't do that with time because it's in a different, what's called a different base. There are 60 minutes in an hour, so you can't use this method. So please either think about it on the analog clock, which is this one here. Think about it on the analog clock, or maybe you can think about it digitally and think, okay, well, if I write 10:30 and then I'm adding 50 minutes, perhaps you are confident with using the digital clock and you know that that would take you then to 11:20. Great if you do. And then adding an hour and a quarter, 1 hour and 15 minutes. You know, perhaps you are confident just doing it that way to get to your final answer, in which case great. But please do not use this column type method with time. Okay, well done.